Howdy, everybody, and welcome back to the Show Up Fitness Podcast. Today is episode number 25, and we have the queen bee of social media, Miss Dani Cohen, aka Dani Coco. Do you have a one in your Instagram?
I do. Someone else was the OG Dani Coco. And I used to work at a company that could like fully just steal people's Instagram handles and they couldn't get it for me, which was devastating.
So we're going to talk about how you can grow your social media with the queen of social media. Before we do that, though, we're going to write out a quick little program for someone who wants to prep for a show. Now, Dani has a date in mind, roughly November, I believe.
Ish. Well, it was going to be October, and then I think November is a little more reasonable.
Okay, so
It's like
I've
two
worked
months.
with bikini competitors before, NPC, National Physique Committee, and here's an example of a program that I would write up for some of my girls. And so Dani is doing 5-day splits right now, 2 to 3 days lower body, 2 days upper body. So depending on if it's going to be a 3-day split or a 2-day split for lower body, you would just alter the volume. And so what I threw together here is I like to start with jumps because I have a strength background coaching track. And if you look at some of the most developed glutes, you will see that amongst volleyball players, track athletes, because they're constantly recruiting those type 2X fibers. When we jump, we do not jump like who, Danielle?
Tinkerbell.
No Tinkerbell jumps. We're going to be loading the arms behind the body and exploding up as high as we can for 8 to 10 jumps. That's non-fatiguing. This is just really going to get the nervous system fired up for a badass workout. We'll do that for 3 rounds. If you want to spice in some abs, go ahead. And then we're going to move into the main core lift. Now, we would not do a core accessory with this because it is a 5-day split. So I'd probably just do straight sets. We'd do some side jumps into a hip thrust here. So this would be another CC. And I would do 3 sets of 6 to 8 on the side jumps. And then for the hip thrust, go 10, 8, 6. I don't like to get too deep into the strength range, 1 to 5 reps, because the volume will be low. And what are the main areas that they really judge bikini competitors off of, Dani?
Glutes and shoulders.
So they want to make sure that you have a nice glute ham separation. So we have to analyze and remember what the glutes do. The gluteus maximus is going to abduct the femur in the frontal plane. It's going to externally rotate in the transverse plane, have a little bit of a posterior tilt with those lower fibers. And then the main purpose of the glutes are to extend. If you were to throw rockets on the human body, you would put them right where the ass is. They're going to go fast and explosive forward. So that's why I'm a big advocate of implementing jumps. A lot of coaches in that world are not. And I always make a joke because I don't think they're athletes, but that's okay. I would do that circuit for 3 rounds, and then we would move into a straight set of reverse lunges, 3x10. Really like reverse lunges because it's unilateral. And for myself, anecdotally, I really get my glutes sore the next day when I do legs once every quarter. But those are a great one to incorporate. And then we'll go into that 4th exercise, back squats, and do some abductions. If you have a trainer, I like the trainer engaged ones where they will push you down and you'll have some eccentric control. We'll do that for 2 sets of 15, moving into the 5th circuit, which will be hip thrusts again into some kickbacks because that's something Dani said she likes to do. And I'm also a big fan of coming back to exercises. Not a lot of coaches do that. They think of it like you do that exercise, you can never go back to it. Well, why? Why not? If you enjoy that exercise, and hip thrusts are a great exercise for the glutes. And so why not come back to them if you can really feel that pump? In the beginning, we get that tension. Remember the mechanisms for hypertrophy: stress, tension, and damage, of which tension is the most important. And so I like to come back to hip thrust to get that booty pump. So do 2 sets of higher rep, 20 to 25 reps. If you want to throw a band on there to incorporate abduction, a little bit of external rotation, go ahead and do that. And then we'll end off on 2 sets of 30 or 40 or even 50 for the back extensions. If you want to get that rounded back, that is going to flex the spinal column, which will turn off the erectors. Really, as I say, hump the pad because you'll really engage your glutes. And that would be your workout. Again, this would be for someone who's training regularly, like Danielle. She wants to get that pop in the posterior side of which they definitely look at on stage. And so if you were just to try this out, I would bump the volume down significantly and then spread it apart over 3 days. So there is your booty program for a bikini competitor. Now let's talk about Dani's expertise. And so if you don't know Miss Danielle, look into her background. She has a lot of credentials working at a big, you call them firms. What do you call those things?
Management companies, close
Right.
enough.
And then we met serendipitously, and now we are BFFs. And she is the queen of getting people to grow her social media, and that's what our next challenge is going to be for our next class. So, the part of the level 2 on the Show Up Fitness, we have nutrition coaching, which is happening right now with registered dietitian Mel. But then Dani will come in the second half, and we'll do the online coaching, in which we were talking the other day, and we said we got to have a challenge for people in the class, and we're going to pay some big bucks to get 10,000 followers. And let's talk a little bit first about the significance behind 10K, because I think there is social media it's superficial, right? But there is some, would you say, credibility? What goes through our mind when you get that K, Dani?
I mean, I think, followers aren't everything. And that's something that I emphasize in my classes is obviously you care about having an engaged community and people who are excited about your programs, what you're offering, not just having a certain follower number, because as we know, people buy followers or they get one viral video and then it doesn't turn into a career. But I do think there is some credibility that happens when you have, as opposed to 999,000 to 10K visually. I think people take it more seriously. Not to say if that's right or wrong, but if there's something you can do to appear more credible as a social media content creator, as a fitness coach, why wouldn't you put the effort into doing that? Because realistically, you might be the best fitness coach in the world, but if I go to your Instagram or your business page and you have 20 followers, I'm just not going to think that, even though it's true. But that's how people are, is they tend to look at sort of this external view of, oh, you have 10 followers, so you must not be credible, which is ridiculous, but it is kind of the world that we live in.
But there's something to it. I get a lot of DMs. People reach out and they'll say, I'm going to help you grow your followers to 30%. We're going to get you all these qualified leads. And then I'll just look at their following and they have 28 followers.
Right.
So why would I use you? If you had, and this was transitioned in the last couple of years, is when we had a talk, we wanted the 10K because it gave you that swipe up feature. That's not there anymore. That's there for everyone. And then, we also wanted to get more followers for the blue check mark. And now you can buy that. I used to get so excited when there's a blue check mark, in my DMs, like, oh my God, this person's important. And now it's just like random Joe over here who bought it.
You spent $10 on it. Yeah, definitely has changed. But I do think, inevitably when you see someone who has a large audience, you assume either they're interesting enough or engaging enough or sharing enough information that people find valuable. And it is in a way groupthink that if 100,000 people find something interesting, there's probably something to it, whether or not it's your particular taste or style. So I think as a fitness coach, why not do everything you can to prove that you are an asset in the industry? And some elements of that are putting content out consistently and sharing that with people and having people be excited about what you're doing.
So Dani has TikTok, and how many followers you have there?
42,000.
And on Instagram, right, shade under 15. And if she was to call herself a social media expert and she had no followers, would you want to listen to her? And not only do the followers mean something because it's work, but it's the proof in the pudding as well. So I remember we had a great call about YouTube, and there was another person who we went over some check marks with, and Dani said, this is what you need to do to grow your following. And I give myself a lot of credit. One of the few things besides my giant biceps is when you tell me to do something, I'll do it. And I'm action based. And I did everything on there. I did it to the fullest capabilities, checked off everything. Within 6 months, we went from less than 1,000 followers on YouTube to being able to be monetized. At the time, it was a little more than that. I think it was like 4,500. Also, the hours watched. And then we started making money. And that's what was really rewarding for me, because I saw the reward from the labor that we were doing. We're reaping the rewards. And so if you're listening to this for the first time and you're like, who the heck is Show Up Fitness? Or, Dani, what's going on here? We're not telling you to be superficial. It's like doing this to be superficial, but there's more people to help. And there's a lot of absolute dipshit influencers out there who are
Mm-hmm.
spreading terrible information. And so we can help you grow your social media if you do the most important thing, which is listen exactly to what Dani says. So let's start with identifying the biggest fears that people have with social media, and what do you come across?
Yeah, it's interesting because when I met Chris, I think 2018, and then I started teaching. At first, we did an in-person social media class in like early 2019 at the West Hollywood Show Up. And it was all either people in the Show Up Fitness internship, Show Up Fitness CPT, who were trying to become personal trainers. It was a few people who like had a small social media audience in the fitness space who wanted to grow, and was teaching these classes based off of my years of experience working as a manager for fitness influencers. So building their brands, doing brand deals for them, monetization opportunities, and was kind of taking what I had learned and boiling it down into the steps that I would advise someone to take if they were starting out. And I think what I didn't realize at the time that I realize now, and it's the difference between working with people who have a million followers and people who are just starting out, is not actually the information that I would give, but the the hurdles and the barriers to entry are not so much physical, meaning having a camera, phone, tripod, letting that is all solvable. It's the mental side of it, where if you're someone with a million followers, you probably have enough confidence to be posting consistently, to not be overly concerned with what people think. Obviously, influencers of all sides have different hangups in regards to their content, but they've done it enough to where they post every day and they're not so concerned about it. I think people who are starting out have these fears about what if people see, and what if they judge me, and what if they make fun of me, and what if I come up on someone's For You page on TikTok. I mean, it was funny, a friend of mine who I haven't talked to in probably 5-6 years from college messaged me 2 days ago and said, oh my God, your TikToks keep coming up on my For You page. To me, I look at that and I'm like, how cool is that? But I know a lot of people are like, that's my worst nightmare, is people who I know seeing my content and judging me. And it's a lot of fear of judgment. It's a lot of fear of failure. What if I post for a month and I get no views? That's embarrassing. It's a lot of what would people want to hear me talk about? Who's going to take me seriously? Why would people listen to me? So I think the sort of repeating thing that happens is this fear that you're going to fail, you're going to be judged, you're going to not be successful at it. And these fears prevent people from actually creating content and from reaching their audience. And they, post once a month and take 6 weeks to get a post up, and procrastinate and make excuses. And, all you're doing is removing yourself from the people that you could help and from the clients that you could have by coming up with all these reasons as to why you just won't post.
Those are some great pointers. And I would add on there additionally the fear of hearing your voice. People freak out about that. But for me, at least, my fear is, what if I don't? Every new class that we have, every seminar, every internship, the very first thing I ask everyone is, how did you come across Show Up Fitness? And every single person, we're getting better now because we are getting more well known. Our certification is internationally accepted now, and we're moving the needle in that regard. But for the most part, I'd say 80 to 85%, when it used to be 100, are saying a NASM video, an ACE video, an ISSA video. And so it kicks me in the ass thinking, man, I posted that one video and that this one person's in front of me. What if I would have posted 5? So the ramifications from my delayed action is what kind of scares me. Where what if I don't? There's going to be some person who gets in front of a ad for a bundle, and they're going to waste $3,000, and then they're going to email me 6 months later saying, I got this bundle, I have no idea how to train. And that's my fear, because we need to be in a position where we're in front of everyone, and social media is one of the methods. And so I want to read from you, or actually to everyone, a good little text from someone who we helped grow their Instagram from less than 500 to more than 40,000. And I said, what are the biggest takeaways that you had from Dani's class? And number 1, follow your niche. Number 2, consistency. Do it for at least a year. Number 3, at least a post a day, preferably 2 to 5. And then number 4, try to improve every video every other day. And so let's talk about that for a little bit, Dani.
Yeah, and also just to kind of to go back to what you said. I think that's a huge point is, and I would agree, I'd have the same feeling. For me, the opportunity, like particularly I see a lot of opportunity on TikTok. The idea of what am I leaving on the table if I don't pursue this is way greater and more significant than what if someone thinks what I'm doing is dumb. I mean, I get a decent amount of like hate comments, and I can't think of a time when one of them has literally ever affected my day. And it's not because I have an ego, and it's not because I don't think people, have valid comments or complaints, but because I would rather get 100 comments on a video and 10 of them say this is stupid than to get zero comments because I didn't post anything. So you, especially in an industry like fitness and in a profession like coaching, where you are, barring that you work at a corporate gym, if you're working for yourself or doing online training or in-person training, trying to build a clientele, you are responsible for getting people in the door. And you are preventing yourself from making the income that you would ideally like to make. You're preventing yourself from helping people with good information because of your own hang-up. So I think that's huge. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to share something because I was talking to a client today, and we're going to work out in Santa Monica. And he's like, I think you're hilarious, Chris, because your personality on Instagram and YouTube, it's two different people. It's like you're a Gemini, which I am. And I do that because I try to have fun with it because I fucking hate social media. I tell people all the time, it's the dumbest thing in the world, but I use it to my advantage and I try to have fun with it. And I had a comment the other day, and someone's like, "Oh, this guy's cringy," and I'm like, "What the hell does that even?" I'm old. I'm like, "What is cringy?"
You're
And
like, I
people,
am cringy. I'm old.
and I'm like, "Oh, let's check out the video. Which one is it?" Oh, it's me making fun of NASM, and I'm being arrogant, and I'm putting on this facade. And I'm like, "Oh, I like it, cringy. That's cool." It's like, I don't give a shit what this random tool says about me. He could call me fat. He can say I have a big nose. He can say whatever the hell it is, which may be true, but I'm not going to let that one person's thoughts or words. What do they say back in kindergarten? Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never
Words
hurt
can
me.
never hurt me.
That's
Yeah,
right. So it's
it's
like, move
it's
on.
I mean, yeah, it's a huge one is people saying, what if someone says something mean? And I'm like, I guarantee you will get a hate comment. You would be the first person on the planet to make content and not get a hate comment. So it's gonna happen. And who cares? Like realistically. Um, but yeah, to go back to that text that you were reading, I think, and this is something I talk about in my classes all the time, is the probably one of the biggest things that I hear when people start making content or when we're having these conversations. I'm a big proponent of, spending maybe a couple days, day or two prior to starting to create content, sitting down, writing out who are you helping? What kind of content do you want to make? Who are content creators whose videos you like that you want to emulate in a way that's reasonable for you, right? You don't need a camera crew. You don't need to be making quote unquote sick edits. But you do need to, kind of have an idea of what the platform that you're going to be creating content on, what's successful on that platform, who do you like, what do you think is interesting, and then off of that, more specifically, who's your ideal audience member? What do they look like? Where do they live? What are their goals? What do they do for fun? And what are the problems that they have? And what are the solutions that you can provide through your content? And that's kind of, a very basic template for creating content. I think there's a lot to do outside of that, but that's usually a good jumping off point for people. And I hear all the time, well, I don't want to cut anyone out, or I don't want to make content for one specific group or one specific type of person, and then all these other people don't end up working with me. And I'm like, what a, pardon my language, fucking phenomenal problem to have, where you have all these people who want to work with you, but some of them are like, I don't necessarily think I'm this person's target client. But talking to everybody and making content that's, here's my back workout, here's my leg day, you should get in good shape because it's good for you. That's helping zero people. That is not helpful. And more than that, it's not going to reach anyone. It's not going to connect with anyone. The algorithm realistically doesn't know where to put you, because it's going to go, okay, fitness content. I mean, that's, I don't know, let's pretend like 70% of the world has some interest in fitness. Okay, so who is it supposed to target your content towards that's going to be interested in it, right? So I always say talking to everyone is talking to no one. And I think it's true that when you create these like very generic, broad pieces of content, it's not really going to go where you want it to go because you don't actually know where you want it to go. So I think to all that, having a niche, being specific, not being afraid of not being quote unquote likable to everyone. Like your content should not be for everyone, because how could it possibly be for everyone? Right. So having that specificity. And then once you figure out who that audience is, niche down, have that target, create as much content as possible. And when I say like planning, I'm talking 1 to 2 days. Like as soon as you decide you're going to start making content, take a day or two to plan, look at some content on the platform, and then just start making stuff. Because the more you wait and the more you procrastinate and give yourself excuses and say, well, this video isn't perfect. If you post 20 videos in 20 days, that's 20 data points. If you post 2 videos a day, that's 40 videos in 20 days. That's 40 data points. What performed well? What didn't? What did people like? What got views? Where did I get comments? How can I make these look better? How can I make these more engaging? As opposed to one post in 30 days is one data point.
We will make more sense of this when we take a look at our page, and Dani will critique it, and we'll kind of go through these checkpoints that she's doing now, because it's so important just to act. And if you look at our internship and the show up page, the quality is not there. The sound sucks a lot of times, the words, whatever, but I can at least look at it and say, what can I improve? Whereas if you're twiddling your thumbs and you're thinking, I'm going to start posting in the new year, that is literally 3.5 months of people who could be signing up or getting involved with you. And so action is so important. But then on the other side of it, you have paralysis by analysis. And we hear that perfection thing a lot, where I want my videos to be perfect. No, you don't. You want to have 100 videos out there, so then you can see what worked well. So the next 100 you can improve. And that kind of goes into the last one that he said, where he says, analyze the videos. And so those data points are important to go over. What else, Dani?
I mean, I'll even use my own TikTok as an example. From July 7th to September 1st of this year, I posted every single day, at least twice a day, but usually like 3 or 4 times a day. My video views for those 60 days were 8.4 million, up 144%. Profile views were at 67,000, up about 5%. My likes, 712,000, up 160%. Comments, 22,000, up 200%. I had days where my average video views were close to 1 million. I had 108,000 shares. That was up 1,000%. And I say all that because it is amazing what you can do in 60 days, 30 days, but in this screenshot I'm looking at, 60 days, if you buckle down and commit to consistency, to frequency. The videos I make probably take me, I want to say, anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes, start to finish. I dedicate about an hour some days if I have time, some days less if I don't have time. Sundays, I obviously am more free, so I'll give a couple hours to filming. I have a rule that I was talking about in one of my classes, where anytime I get ready to go anywhere, like if I'm going to meet a friend for lunch, if I'm going to get coffee, if I'm going to a bar, whatever, I require myself to make 2 TikTok videos before I go anywhere, because I'm already in the headspace of going out and being social. So I know I'm going to be personable on camera. I look presentable. Like, these are things that are essentially habit stacking, right? So maybe every morning you go for your walk, you get your coffee, you come back, you make 4 TikTok videos. But whatever that routine is that you can get yourself into, where you're filming consistently, and then the reward becomes the consistency. It's not even necessarily about, oh, I got so many views or I got so many comments. It's about building the habit and saying, hey, look, I did this for 30 days. I posted every day for 30 days. Amazing. What can I change? What can I fix? So, I mean, for me, I got to talk to 8.4 million views or 8.4 million people in 60 days. That's a lot of people. I don't know another place where I can tell 8.4 million people my opinion. And I don't know where you can educate 8.4 million people on fitness, on nutrition, on wellness, whatever your sort of niche is, anywhere. And so if you're not taking advantage of it, if you're not being consistent, and you're posting once a month and saying, well, why am I not getting millions of views? Like, yeah, it's not going to happen. But for me, the only thing I changed for that month or those 2 months, frequency and consistency. That was it.
Did you use the word buckle?
Belt buckle down.
Buckle down. I like it.
There's a pun in there somewhere. There's merch.
So why do you think most people exercise?
I'm sure there's a variety of reasons. Number one, probably to get in shape. I think I'm even just thinking in general, most people I know who work out want to be fitter, whether that means looking fitter or feeling fitter, being able to keep up with their kids, being able to run around with their friends.
So we agree that it's for yourself, for the most part.
Sure.
So that's what's important when you're hearing Dani ramble off those numbers. You could be like, listen up, bitch. I don't have that many followers. Like, I'm not, no, you're not working out for other people. You're working out for yourself. You're doing social media for other people. Yes, but you need to analyze your own data. And so right now, if your metrics are 0, you're not going to compare those metrics to Dani or anyone else. You compare them to what metrics you have. And so if you haven't posted in the last 7 days, post once. That is a significant step. Is it
Right.
consistent? No, but it's better than what you
It's
had
better
prior.
than nothing. I think the
Exactly.
other thing about that too is, when I started TikTok probably like consistently, I think it was a year and a half ago. It was January, not of this past year, but the year before. So like about a year and a half, a little more, of when I said I'm gonna really like post all the time, be super consistent. My niche has changed a few times. I've adjusted my content, but those 40 something thousand followers, that's a year and a half, right? So that's not crazy explosive growth. You see people who go from 0 to 1 million in a week, right? I just decided a year and a half ago, I'm going to be as consistent as humanly possible with this. It took me some trial and error. It took me some time to figure out what kind of videos I wanted to make, but I just kept posting stuff. Now I very consistently, 1,000 followers a week, 2,000 followers a week. It's very fast and consistent growth, but it took me time. And I think people are okay. I posted for 7 days. Nothing happened. It's not working. And I love that in that text, he said, do it for at least a year because I so firmly agree with that. Give yourself a 30-day challenge, give yourself a 60-day challenge to crush it, but let that be like the catalyst. That's not the end point. It's the beginning of building the habit.
Do it for a year, analyze which month was most successful with those challenges, whatever you did, and then repeat it the next year. And it's rinse and
Yeah.
repeat. And the interesting thing about social media, which should be inspiring to people, unlike weight loss, there's no magical pill. You can't just lose 100 pounds in a week. You can have extreme cases like, David Goggins losing 100 pounds in 2 months. Well, he's just a different monster. But for the most part, it takes hard work and being consistent. But the thing about social media is you can hit a home run. You can do something absolutely idiotic in your car that is following someone else. It's a trend, whatever. Next thing you know, you get 3, 4 million views. And then you get that bump, and then you have an opportunity to have a sponsorship. I'm looking at a piece of equipment at our Santa Monica gym where one of our trainers, Ben, he has, I think, maybe 100,000 on TikTok and 60 plus thousand on
Yeah, I think
Instagram.
around that.
And he got that. It's $1,000 piece of equipment. Got it for free because he actually blew up in less than a month.
Yeah.
And now one of the things, we'll see if Ben listens to this. Ben, if you listen to this podcast and you say, hey, Chris, I listen to that podcast, I'll give you $20, Ben.
Wow.
But if one of the things that I work with Ben with is the perfection aspect, because he wants his stuff to be perfect. And I'll give him shit. And I'll say, Ben, you had that huge hockey stick growth, which is cool, but you're not being consistent anymore. So what if you were to have a double amount, triple amount? You could be getting more of that stuff that you have. And so fine tune your low hanging fruit that you can implement now and start doing it, and then analyze it. Become a scientist. That's what all this stuff is about.
What's that expression? Is it perfect is the enemy of good or something like that? You don't know that one?
I just know the one bicep over tricep equals awesome. I know it's my
Okay.
biceps.
That's the formula.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's something like that. Like, and it's true. Like looking for perfection or trying to make the perfect video is a waste of time. And I firmly believe that because you will get better the more you do it. Guaranteed. If you're posting consistently, working to get better, trying to find little video tricks, lighting tricks, editing to get better, you'll get better. But you can literally start by propping up your camera, opening TikTok, making an account, talking for 2 minutes about a really specific topic that targets your niche. Women in their 30s, how to build glutes. If you've never been to the gym and never played a sport, here are the 3 things you need to do. Go, there's a little edit button on TikTok, hit it, cut out all the space between your thoughts, trim it down a little. You can just slide the clips. That's it. It's the easiest thing on the planet to do. Put one piece of text on screen, which would be women over 30, how to grow your glutes if you've never worked out before. Caption, women over 30, hashtag women over 30, fitness, bodybuilding, glute growth, hashtag grow your glutes, post. That should take you, honestly, 10 minutes. There's no editing involved aside from sliding some clips around to cut out some blank space. You're filming against a plain background with some bright lighting in front of you. Maybe it's a window. Maybe you buy a ring light for 20 bucks on Amazon. You don't have to. Tripod, stack your phone on some books, and that's it. And do that every single morning. And that's it. And that is not, anyone who tells me that that's not doable is not trying hard enough, because it should take you maybe 20 minutes the first time, maybe 15 minutes the next time, 10 minutes the last time. By week 2, you'll be doing these in 5 minutes. You'll be able to do 10 videos in that hour or whatever it ends up being, as opposed to the one.
And it's going to become second nature. And I'm going to do an Instagram post right now, a story. Showing up with Dani. We're doing the podcast.
Podcast time.
That took me 2 seconds.
1 second.
I'm comfortable doing it now, but you have that fear. And so, what I want for those that are listening, we're going to eliminate a lot of those ants, automatic negative thoughts. And Dani hit on a couple of those. You don't have to, because your mind could be going, well, I need to get good audio. I need to get good lighting. I need to do all this stuff. It's like, you don't need any of that stuff. You can start right now by just doing it. What would you say are some other beginning hurdles that people are going to say? One that I would address is, well, I have my account. I have 300 followers, all my families and friends. Should I start a fitness account?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Someone will have a small, just kind of like a friends and family account. I tend to lean towards just use that and start posting on that. You can do a little story post if you want and say, hey, I've been taking Show Up Fitness CPT. I'm learning to become a personal trainer. I'm going to start posting fitness content on here. If you would like to train with me in person or online, here's how you can reach out, and then start posting, right? I think it's fine to do a little intro post like that on your story. But that's 300 potential clients. And people go, no, it's not. It's my friends and family. I can't tell you how many people I know who their beginning clients are friends, family, coworkers who follow them on social media. So I don't know why you would want to start from zero when you could start from 200-300. The only reason I would say to not do that is if you have an account that's dedicated to something else, like you have a photography account or you have like a baking account. That's a little different. But if it's just your personal account, 100% I would start using that. The other thing I hear a lot is I'm awkward on camera, or I don't like how I look on camera, or I don't like how I sound on camera. I don't think anyone does, honestly. I think there are very few people who every single day are like, wow, I'm so excited to film myself. Chris is like, I am the exception. But everyone has days where they don't feel confident, they're not in the mood to be on camera, you have a weird zit, like, it happens. And that is just not like, it's funny because people always say like social media is so self-involved and blah blah blah, but to me, if you want to approach social media in a non-self-involved way, make it not about you. It's not about how you look or how you feel or what you think. It's about the people that you're able to help and provide information for. And if you approach it that way, obviously, it's still you, you're still on camera. But if you're one of those people who's thinking, well, I don't just want it to be like me, I want followers, great. Then kind of take your own emotion about yourself out of the equation, because it's not about how you feel about yourself in that moment. It's about what information can I provide? Who can I help? And that's the priority.
Now, with that being said, I don't want to crush anyone's hopes and get any bad reviews because of this next thing I'm going to say, but post with intent and don't hide behind other people's stuff. Here's a post on Harvard Review. People who post inspirational quotes show less intelligence.
Yes.
So what I mean by that is
back you up there. Yeah.
Don't just post 50,000 random things about other people's quotes. It's like, here's my wake up and chug. I'm drinking. I don't have to talk. And so if you're self-conscious about something, there are creative ways around it.
There are. And I also think, why not use it as an opportunity to get over the things that make you self-conscious? And I understand it's more complex than just saying, I'm going to get over it. But I think if us talking about creating content, putting yourself on camera makes you feel like you want to curl up into a ball and cry, that is worth addressing in terms of like your own actual personal growth as a human being. Why does the idea of speaking to other people on camera make you feel so awful? And I had a conversation with a client about this who is a pretty big TikToker, like 500,000 followers. And we were just chatting in general about her content. And she said, yeah, like, I wish I had started this years ago. She's like, I started so many YouTube channels in like 2012, 2013, and I just hated myself and like could not talk on camera. And she's adorable and super personable and great and posts a lot of great content. And it took her basically a decade to like get over this fear that she had around making content. And her content is great. Everyone likes her. I think she's posting great stuff, but it took her 10 years. So don't let it take you 10 years to start posting. Just start doing it and start working on addressing those feelings of, I shouldn't be talking to people. I'm not qualified. I don't want to, post, and I don't want to embarrass myself. And those are like actual issues that I think social media can actually help you address and can help you get over those fears.
And before we break down and tear apart the Show Up page, I want to address a podcast that happened recently with Brett Contreras, and he was on the Mind Pump one. And so this would be motivation for you. And something that he said on there is, I don't charge for my training. He has people come to his gym. He says, I don't want to dress up. I don't want to be professional. I don't want to have to give service. He's like, my dream job is training. I'm doing what I love. And so when you dissect that and you think about, well, I want to do that. He's been doing this for 20 plus years. He has 1.2 million followers. And I don't know any truth behind this, but let's just play around with some numbers. So let's say that half of his followers are fake, which they're not, but let's just say that for fun's sake. So that's 600,000 people. Now, Danny, what would you say would be a decent client penetration to buy a product?
Anywhere from, let's say, 1 to 2%.
Okay, so we take 600,000 and you times that by 0.02. That's 12,000 people who would buy a product, which he has for $29. That's $350,000 per month. And so his online following allows for him to generate a boatload of money. I don't know what the numbers are, but he doesn't charge his training because of what he has online. Now, if he didn't have that online following, I guarantee you he wouldn't be able to do what he's doing now. So you should use that as motivation, thinking that, okay, what are my streams of revenue? If you're a trainer, I will bet you my belt buckle, most of you only have one stream of revenue. So I motivate our trainers by saying, use social media as your car payment or your mortgage. That should be your goal, where you develop it enough and you have a stream of revenue coming in, where you do what you love, train people, help them become better. And then you have a stream of revenue that comes in that will pay for your car or whatever the hell you want. That's the fun thinking behind what it could potentially do.
Yeah. I mean, even like on a personal note, most of what I do is managing influencers, so doing their brand deals. But since I've started growing my TikTok, I have a little list here. I've gotten 4 deals in the past 30 days, brand deals: $600, $600, $851, and $400. So that is unfortunately not my rent payment, but it is a lot of people's rent payment. And so imagine if you were able to build from zero to $40,000 and make, I don't know, it's around like $2,400. That's a lot of people's rent. That's more than a lot of people's rent. And that's money that you can just pay your rent or pay your bills or whatever that like main expense is for you. And the rest of your training income is money you can save to buy a house or to get a cool thing that you want or to build your own gym or to invest in something. And I don't know why I always kind of jokingly say it's free money, which is not true. You have to do something for it. But doing these brand deals, I don't usually do those. Usually I'm telling my clients what to do, but filming them myself, I was like, yeah, this is free money. You get to talk about cool products you like and share cool things with people and get paid $850 to make a 30-second TikTok. Come on. Like, that's why would you not do that?
Why would you not show up?
There we go.
Now, Danielle is like my older sister because she's older than me. And when she gives me advice, it doesn't offend me. And I tell her to be as, honest as possible. And before the podcast, she was making fun of me saying, Chris, your podcast titles are way too long. They're stupid. I'm like, okay, I need to fix that. I don't sit down, Danny, you hurt my feelings. Let's talk about me. I'm hurt right now. No, it's like, shoot it to me straight, because I want it to be better, because maybe someone is deterred by the long ass title that I used. But with that being said, she did tell me I can put anything in the title, and she didn't clarify. So
I didn't clarify that it needed to be under 5 minutes to read the title of the podcast. Shorten those up.
I'm a big meathead, and if you tell me, I'm like freaking Sloth from Goonies. If you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it, but as you say it. So if you could say write anything, I will write anything. So let's take a look at the show up page. And these are things that you get when you go through the program that we offer. Is you're going to get not only help for the words in the content you're posting, but things that you should and you shouldn't have. And so, for example, what are some should nots in your bio?
I think the big things, obviously it's going to depend. YouTube, you don't necessarily have a bio, you have a description, but you can have the same description included in every video. TikTok, really short bios. Instagram, I think some things that you absolutely should have is, well, I guess should not have: NASM, ACE, ISSA. Ridiculous, doesn't mean anything to me as a consumer, and is not actually a sign of a qualified trainer, in my opinion. I would much rather see an internship you went through, an in-person program you went through, an online multiple month program you went through. Because again, like most people, I think, who have any knowledge of the fitness industry would look at like a NASM or ACE certification, go, oh, they took a multiple choice test. That's personally how I look at it. Is great. Congrats. You passed a multiple choice test. I don't care. So not to be biased, but like at least, show up fitness CPT. I go, okay, this person went through a 2-month internship that and trained actual clients while they were learning to become a trainer. If you shadowed Brett Contreras for 3 months, if you shadowed, I'm totally blanking on the name of the guy in New York who does this.
Jordan
Anyways,
Siat, or no, he's in
no, there's
Dallas.
a trainer in New York who does like an internship program whose name I'm forgetting. But anyways, some sort of like intern at blah 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 or trained by so and so, right? Some sort of evidence that you are a qualified trainer if you choose to include that. I actually don't think you need to, but I think if it's something legitimate, then yes, go for it.
If you were to look at top celebrity trainers, Luke Worthington, Tony Gentilcore, their bio just says trainer. And so again, if you do have a unique designation like a PhD or a master's, yeah, put it in there.
Right.
But these acronyms are hilarious because it tells you a lot about the individual. They're seeking validation, but it's a false validation because they don't realize that they're actually being analyzed by true fitness professionals and being mocked.
Well, and it's also, I don't like, it's very internal facing in the sense of none of your clients are going to look and be like, oh, great, you're NASM certified. Thank God. If that happens to anyone, send me a message because I've never heard of that where your clients are like, but do you have your NASM? And then if you go, no, because I took a 2-month in-person internship learning how to train people and shadowing sessions, like, oh, wow, that's great. So I again, not to like shit on certifications too much, but I just don't think I think it's a waste of characters basically in your bio. Um, if you are training in person, please have your location and not just your state. I see that all the time. California trainer. I'm like, I hate to break it to you. California's a big place. So your specific location, even better if you're a trainer at a specific gym, like let's say you're a Show Up Fitness trainer, tag Show Up Fitness because then I can go see the literal address at which you train. If you are a little worried about safety, totally fine. I would say like Marina Del Rey personal trainer. You don't need to, or Santa Monica trainer. Totally understandable if you don't want to tag the specific gym. But generally speaking, to at least have the city specifically that you're training in listed. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, what are your thoughts on playing the devil's advocate on that one? Because some gyms don't allow you to post. And so let's pretend like I'm a trainer over here at Burn Fitness in Santa Monica. They may say, which I don't know, I'm just saying, using an example, we don't want you to use social media. So then would you
Yeah,
just
and
put trainer in Santa Monica?
I maybe would just focus on the online because you don't want to be like lying to your employer and they're going to say, how did you get this client? How did this person come in? You're going to go social media. They're going to say, we told you not to post on social media. I honestly don't know how many gyms would be upset about that you're getting people in the door through social media. As long as it's PG, you may want to ask. And if your manager is like, absolutely not, then just don't affiliate yourself with the gym on social media. I think that's fine. They can't control if you're putting out content that, they're not going to delete your Instagram. No. Um, but they may say we don't want you to tag us or talk about us on social media, which is fine. I just wouldn't do it. And focus on the online training side of it for your social media. And so I would always have your relevant degrees or internships. I would have your location and then also clarify that you provide online training. So Marina Del Rey trainer, and then maybe parentheses and online or and global online, whatever you kind of want to say there. And then I would have a link to your website, which you should have. And if you don't know how to build a website, it's very simple. We go over it in my class. It literally is a 1-hour session and everyone has a website and it's super simple. It's a very basic website, homepage about you, about your company, training offerings, and application. If that sounds complicated, again, everyone gets it done in an hour. It's great. And maybe one specific thing about you, right? I hate the I help statements. I help so and so do so and so. I think they're great for you to have and for you to be aware of. I don't think they're interesting to a client. It sounds very gimmicky. So I think as opposed to going, I help women in their 20s, build their dream body through blah, blah, blah. That's great to have for yourself to be aware of, but there are so many more interesting ways to present it online, right? The queen of booty transformations in LA, right? Or helping women crush their dream body with these 3 exercises, right? The CEO of the barbell hip thrust, which I'm sure is like Brett's thing and would sue you, but just kidding. But come up with some tagline.
Inventor of the hip thrust, yeah.
Yeah, right. But that's great. He doesn't say I help, because what Brett does is helps women who have some fitness level or some familiarity with fitness grow their glutes in a way that is significant and not only just from aesthetics but also strength. Is that what's in his bio? No, right?
So let's I like to look at our trainers, and we have Megan. Hers says trainer, which is fine. And the next line says, help current and former athletes reclaim, sustain their active lifestyle. What are your thoughts on that?
Nothing wrong with it. At least it doesn't say I help. Help, the word helping doesn't bother me. It's the I help statement because it's so overdone. But I think that could be stronger. She's a former D1 soccer player. I believe she's playing with the Dominican team still. Talk about that. That's fucking cool, right? Like she's an athlete. So, former D1 soccer player or current DR soccer player teaching you how to, train like an athlete or have it be called, train like an athlete with a D1 soccer player or train like an athlete with a current soccer player, however she wants to phrase that. But make it something that someone's going to look at and go, I want to do that, or that's cool, or that's easy to understand. I think kind of it's a little weak as a statement, like the reclaim, sustain. It's a little like, when she could say like, Megan's obviously like super strong. If you guys know Megan, she's probably like honestly the strongest, like physically girl I've ever met. Is in great shape, great attitude, like focus on those things. Because to me, like the fact that she is so strong, like that's what makes her unique as a trainer, that she has the athletic background and that she can do more pull-ups than a lot of guys I know. Like that's great. Talk about that.
So then she has director of CPT at Show Up Fitness, instructor in San Diego, and helped 1,000 people pass NASM. What are your thoughts on that?
I think she could just cut that down a little bit to helped over 1,000 people pass NASM via at Show Up Fitness internship. And then she could even have like DM me the word NASM to learn how. I don't know if she'll have characters for that, but something to kind of shorten that up a little.
Let's dissect Travis real quick. Mr.
Mm-hmm.
T, sports and fitness instruction. The first one is just the automatic one. It says helping trainers become great. First line, second line, Show Up Fitness CPT anatomy instructor at Show Up Fitness. Then it says teacher of trainers, trainer in San Antonio, in-person online availability.
I'm just looking at it. There's a little too much information here. I'm not sure what's going on. So I think you'd be a lot better off saying something like teacher of personal trainers, first of all, because trainers could be athletic trainers, horse trainers, like I don't what kind of trainers. So teacher of personal trainers. And then all he needs is, let me look at this, teacher of personal trainers. Then it should say anatomy instructor at Show Up Fitness, and then a little location emoji, PT in San Antonio, and then in parentheses, online also available or online available. And that would be it.
Let's take a look at Miss Katie. She is a state record holder in Tennessee for powerlifting. She's also an instructor. And so it says teacher of personal trainers at Show Up Fitness, powerlifter, SUF CPT, the best certification in fitness. What are your thoughts on that?
What's her, can you give me her username? I can't find her.
Above the bar .fitness.
Yes. Okay. I was searching the word Katie. There we go. Here she is. I was like, I know I follow her. I can't remember what her username is. Teacher of personal trainers is great. That's the note that I had for Travis. I just don't know what kind of trainers. If you say trainers, powerlifter. This is not clear to me that she does in-person training, which I believe she does. So I would say
main emphasis. So I don't think she wants to do that. So that's
okay, great. Okay, yeah. Then I wouldn't focus on that. Powerlifter is a little generic. Tell me something cool. She's a record holder. Give me that. Let's make that a little more interesting.
Stats. I like it.
Yeah, why not? It's badass. If you're a state record holder, post that. And then yeah, I think she doesn't need the hashtag. Also, she doesn't have it tagged correctly because of the dash. It eliminates the tag. And I think the teacher of personal trainers is enough. And then a powerlifting stat, and then a push to watch my next YouTube video with an arrow, since she has her YouTube link.
Mr. Josh, stable, fit life. I train moms, dads, on the goers, promoting a sustainable approach to your health and fitness. That's kind of his mission statement for Stable Fit Life. Show Up Fitness instructor.
Yeah, it's close. I just would separate these out into different lines. If you're having trouble doing it on Instagram, you can always do it in your notes app and copy paste because it's just all one line right now.
So those are the gold nuggets that you're going to get that will annoy the hell out of you. And you'll spend 2 hours trying to figure out how the hell can you get the format.
The lines. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, you just go to your notes.
Notes up. Yeah. I do think now you can do it directly on Instagram. I know before you couldn't. I'm pretty sure you can now. I like train moms, dads, and on the goers, right? People with busy schedules. You could probably narrow that down a little bit. In terms of like I personal train or I teach or I strength train, just something to clarify like what that means.
The next class that starts on October 9th, I have a challenge specifically for Katie, Josh, and Travis who
Ooh.
can get to 10,000 followers. I will pay them $2,500. On top of that, for the class, we will have a $2,500 award as well. There will be some stipulations. If you have 9,990 and you sign up for it, yeah, you're not going to be entered or eligible. It's going to be different pods. So we'll have like a less than 5,000, greater than 5,000, because one of the challenges I have for the instructors, Megan, Josh, Katie, and Travis, get to 10,000, because when, as an instructor, if you were to have someone who's an aspiring trainer and they come across your page and they see that you have 1,000 followers, they go to somewhere like ACE or ISSA and they have 300,000 followers, you're going to lose. And so at least by having that K, Show Up Fitness has 17,300 followers. I'm not as active on the to-do list that Dani gives us. I did that on the internship page more. That's where we have more followers, but this account is more active, like 52,000 accounts reached in the last 30 days. The other one only has 10,000. What would you change about the bio for Show Up Fitness? Show Up Fitness CBT, certification at Show Up Fitness internship, personal training and internship, Santa Monica, La Jolla. Become a successful personal trainer, because that's the best book ever. And if you haven't given me a 5-star review on Amazon, I hate you. I'm just joking. But
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about this before, but there's some differentiation between the Show Up Fitness internship page, which is really just geared towards the interns. It's geared towards people trying to learn to become personal trainers. I think the Show Up Fitness page is more general information for trainers, as opposed to like, if you are not a trainer, start here. This is a little bit more like ideas for clients, ideas for you as a trainer, self-improvement. So I think this looks good to me. I don't know where to buy the book or what it is when it says become a personal trainer, and I just put in parentheses available on Amazon or Amazon. Just something, because I'm like, what does that mean? Are you just like, I think you're just saying become a successful personal trainer. I don't realize that's a book title.
Great. I'll change that right now. Now, something that I constantly battle in my lunatic of a mind is I do get that. It's not imposter syndrome. It would be like just kind of confusion, because I do teach trainers, right? And we have the best certification out there. So I want that to be our niche, but I will get confused because I'll have clients like today, and he was telling me like, oh yeah, so I was looking at your Instagram post and I thought that'd be great if you add some stuff on their nutrition. So I'm kind of torn between,
Yeah.
I have clients and they want some of the general stuff, but that would be too general for trainers. But then sometimes I'll go to too advanced.
I don't think it is. I think you have to lean towards like, if you are a trainer and you are training clients, here's what you should know. And I think that information is also helpful to the general population. When you're saying nutrition, whether you're a trainer with a client who's struggling with nutrition or you yourself are struggling with nutrition, here are the 3 principles that I think everyone should use, guiding principles, if you've never tried to adjust your nutrition before. Trainers will benefit from that. Potential clients will benefit from that. You're never going to be posting content that is like just for Gen Pop, because that's not the goal of Show Up Fitness realistically. But there's no reason why you couldn't say, if a client says to you, yeah, I want some, nutrition help and you should make some nutrition posts. Great. Go on there and have 5 different Show Up trainers submit their favorite meal ideas for clients for breakfast, right? Take a photo of it. Here's what I tell all my clients to make for breakfast: high protein, medium carb, not super high in sugar or super high in whatever. Have them all make something, take a photo, send it to you. That's a post, right? Where you get on there and say, all of our Show Up Fitness personal trainers can help you with nutrition. They've been through a course with an RD. Here's what we recommend. And, that's a great way to say, these are educated trainers who have not just gotten a piece of paper and said they're certified. They've taken multiple courses with various experts in the industry. And that's helpful to a client. It's also helpful to a trainer.
What would your thoughts be on improving our reels? So right now you'll see that I have some angry faces on there in the reels. I'm trying to be obnoxious on purpose, but with what you're saying right there, what about having Ben, and there's a picture of some eggs or whatever, and he's doing a green screen talking about what he eats, and then maybe I could even come on at the end saying like, here's what a trainer at Show Up Fitness eats. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would start out with you saying, "Here's what a trainer at Show Up Fitness eats." Have a photo of
I
Ben
would
and
be
the
that
food.
the main
Yeah,
thumb.
I think for the Show Up Fitness page tends to be more of you. The internship tends to be more of everyone. So it just would depend on where you're posting it. But yeah, I would start off with, I'm a teacher of personal trainers, and so many people tell me they have no idea what to eat. Their clients don't know what to eat. They're not sure what to eat before a workout. They come in for their session, they get dizzy halfway through. So for any of your clients who are working out with you in the morning, here's what they should be eating, not just for me, but from one of our trainers. Ben comes on. All right. So I tell all my clients oatmeal, little bit of protein, have a banana, bring carbs with you for your session, right? Whatever, he personally recommends. But that's, you don't necessarily need another trainer, but if you wanted to like incorporate some of the trainers, that would be great. Um, but I think anything where you can very specifically talk to trainers and their clients. And I think also like a great post would be how to be a great client, right? You show up on time, ask questions. If your trainer gives you workouts to do outside the gym, do them, right? So what are things as clients that they can be doing on their own to benefit?
Analyzing our top 5 most prominent posts in the last 30 days, I have one where I'm comparing a 1 pound of muscle to 5 pounds of fat, and that did 7 times more the amount of views than all the other ones. So that got 35,000 views. The other ones were all reels, a couple of them me lifting, one showing my ass. What would you say I could do to get more of those 35,000 views?
I mean, this is a very short video, which is obviously makes it easier for people to get through. It's something they're familiar with, right? Most people have seen that photo of, the 5 pounds of muscle versus 5 pounds of fat before. So it's something that is familiar to people. And it's a pretty simple, like fairly interesting concept, right? So, another example of that could be you have you green screened over a training session and you say, if you are someone who works out and you get dizzy during your sessions, here's why, right? And you say it's because you're not eating enough before your sessions, right? Or it's a blood pressure issue, whatever. Come up with a couple of things that it could be, but short and simple and familiarity, I think is always going to be helpful. But this is like something any equivalent, like I would call it like a famous photo like this, talk about it, right? If that worked well. So any other, I'm sure there's other ones if you search like famous fitness images that are things that are similar to this.
Where I think I get confused, and I'm sure others as well, is we get hung up on well, this influencer said the best way to get your views is to have as many cuts and angles, and you got to keep them excited. Whereas what you're saying right now is going exact opposite of that, where it's just one video and I'm talking without any cuts. And so
It's one video, but there's a lot happening. There's text on screen. You are holding up the 5 pounds of fat. There's actually two different sections of text on screen, and there's two videos happening at the same time. So that's a scenario where there's enough happening to where like you don't need. I mean, it moves fast anyway, but I think that's more in the sense of like when I post talking videos on TikTok, I'm never going to post a video of me sitting in front of the camera uncut for a minute because no one cares. It's just not moving fast enough for the platform. So that's the question is there enough visually happening on screen? And if the answer is maybe not, is it cut fast enough to where I'm staying engaged?
I'm a big believer of putting your goals out into the world. And so I'm going to put a goal out there, and I want Danny to tell me when to have it done by. We are at 17,300 followers. When could we be at 100,000 for the Instagram page Show Up Fitness?
Let's say January 1st. Let's see what you can do.
100,000. Okay. So you're 83,000 followers I'm going to get in the next 100 days. That's what you think I can get?
Why not? What else are you doing?
Okay. I'll accept the challenge.
Kidding.
I'll
He's
do
doing
my
lots
best.
of things, by the way.
But with that being said, what would be some low hanging fruit that you would suggest for me today that I could do to mimic that post where I got a lot on top of all the other things that we're going to do so I can do some action plans right now?
Pick 5 or 6 images like that. I don't know what they're going to be. You probably will know better than I am, but like sort of famous, well-known photos like
Images or
that.
videos?
It could be images, and you just would have to cut a little faster. Like that's where I would do some stopping and starting. Um, I like this is not a good example, but for some reason that fucking the evolution of man photo that you see all the time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's in my head. I don't know if that's relevant, but something like that everyone's seen, talk about it in the context of fitness, personal training. Make it short and make it look good. So work on your lighting because you have weird shadows on your face and all these.
Okay. So how would I make my lighting better? Like right now,
Just,
I'm in the gym right now. So that,
yeah, just put a ring light in front of your face or face a window. There's that big front window in Santa Monica. Film
yes,
that
I'll
way.
work on the lighting. It's probably not going to be a high priority of mine, but
Sure. But I'm just saying, just if you're talking, just film in front of a window. So it's not like right now you have that like shadow going down.
okay. What's my big nose, Danny? Thanks for bringing that up.
Sorry to devastate you. It's not because it's your eyebrows too.
What about your thoughts on this is taboo today, right? With calling people out. So I have a girl here, and it's tough being a male, calling it a female, and it's like you can get called sexist and stuff. So I want to get your advice on that. There's a girl, she's called like mommy official. She has a couple million followers, and she's known for putting out some information that is definitely not scientifically current. And so like right now she's doing slim your back with these moves, and she's using very, very lightweight.
Yeah.
You cannot spot reduce. If I were to call someone out, what are your thoughts on having them as the backdrop? Is that yay or nay?
Yeah. So I think it's totally fine. You just want to approach it in a way that's not like hyper negative or personal. So, I think an easy one, like let's say you're taught, and I also, just to be clear, do not do this if you're a personal trainer. The only reason I would advise Chris to do this is because he owns a company that teaches trainers and has multiple degrees. If you are a NASM certified trainer and this is your third Instagram post, please God, do not do this. I feel like I need that disclaimer. But as someone who's qualified and has the credentials and many, many, many years of training to back it up, I think you could easily do something like that. And it's just about not being personal. I think Joey Swoll, whatever your kind of opinions are on him, and I have my own, but I do think he does a really solid job of not being personal when he talks about, if you don't know who this is, he makes videos where he calls out influencers who are filming in gyms in a way that's like not appropriate. So they have tons of people with their faces in the background. They're making fun of other people in the gym, filming in locker rooms, kind of things that are just not acceptable. He does a great job of not saying you suck and you're a bad person and you're an idiot. And he really just focuses on like why the behavior is problematic. So I think, let's say with that particular post you talked about, you could say, I understand that a lot of people think that you can do certain exercises to change the amount of fat you have in that body part, but that's not how it works. Fat loss is an overall composition experience, meaning that you're not going to drop fat from your arms unless you're losing fat everywhere and you can't control where the fat comes off. And so if you are trying to, you know, lose fat in your back, quote unquote, you want to build muscle in your back so that there's muscle underneath, and you want to slowly, be in a calorie deficit, lose weight, and the weight will come off the back when it comes off. And you can't do anything to speed that up, but you can increase the amount of definition you have in your arms and your back, which can definitely help the appearance. So I think being solution oriented and not hyper fixating on the person and what they're doing wrong, but saying, this is not correct, but here's what is correct. And I think that's a way to approach it that's not personal.
So for this episode, I appreciate you guys showing up and listening to Miss Dani Coco. You'll notice we had a lot of Q&A in here, so we're not going to have one at the end. I will finish off with one last question, but before we do, where can people find you and follow you?
TikTok is Dani.Coco1. Instagram is DaniCoco1. You can also email me, Dani, D-A-N-I, at showupfitness.com. I think people think that I am scarier than I am for some reason. So I will happily.
Like her dog. She's a little tiny thing that
people always are like, I was so scared to ask you a question. And I'm like, dude, like, come on. So I'm not scary. And I love talking about social media. Obviously, I talk a lot. So
she talks a lot, and she talks a lot.
I talk a lot. I talk about all the things. If you would like to book a consultation with me and you feel like you need a full hour, you can always do that. But I'm happy to go back and forth over email. You don't need to, it's not like I'm requesting payment for an answer to a question. Please reach out. Don't be afraid of me or Chris. And, questions are always welcome.
Even better would be just get your ass into the class October 9th. She's going to help you grow your, whether if it's YouTube, TikTok, social media accounts, to get more involved in helping people improve their lives by being more like a fitness professional, not an influencer. Last question is going to be, what should the post be to, I have some photos with some money. We're going to be giving away $50 for any referral between now and the end of September. $50 for the Show Up Fitness CPT, or if you need to pass NASM, you can't get a refund or ACE. If you refer them to our program, I'll give you $50. What would a post reel look like for that?
Yeah, take that photo you took, holding $50, giving it to Ben, have some text on screen that says, if you or someone you know is trying to pass NASM, ACE, or just become a personal trainer, check out Show Up Fitness Internship. We'll give you $50 if you refer someone, and then have you giving money to Ben. Those can just be 3 different text sections on screen. So the first one would be, if you or someone you know is trying to be, text on screen, pop some music on there if you want. If you or someone you know is trying to become a personal trainer, then that's up for 3 seconds. Next piece of text. Check out Show Up Fitness CPT. It's a 2-month internship, and it's the only way to become a qualified trainer, or whatever you legally can say there. Next one, refer someone and get $50. www.showupfitness.com. That's it.
No voiceover.
No voiceover needed. Do one with voiceover and one without on each page. See which performs better. There you go.
I like it. analysis. Great stuff today, Danielle. You are a rock star. I am so fortunate to know you. I'm also very proud of you because you are a hard worker and you're a blessing to Show Up Fitness. So thank you for your time today and keep showing up.
Thank you, Christopher. Much appreciated. And as always, my only piece of advice that really matters is just do it consistently, because that is where everybody makes the same mistake that I work with. So be consistent if you take nothing else from this.